Hello for certificate. This is class number 31, the second class dealing with gerunds and infinitives. In the first class, class number 30, we saw gerunds and infinitives, but how? First of all, what a gerund is, then which verbs are followed by gerunds or which words are followed by gerunds and which verbs are followed by the infinitive. We have already provided the lists and we have done a lot of practice regarding that. Now we're going to see something which is complementary. We're going to see verbs followed by the gerund or the infinitive, but in most cases they will change the meaning if they are followed by the gerund or if they are followed by the infinitive. At the very beginning, we have these three verbs. Let's begin by the simplest way, in which these three verbs can be followed by the gerund or the infinitive with no change in meaning. Look at the two examples. He began, he started, or he continued shouting, or he began, he started, he continued to shout. As you can see in the explanation there, the meaning of these two sentences is very, very similar. So in this case, you can use either option and there will be no problem at all. Now, we begin with the changes in meaning as in try. Okay, here we have the verb try and it can be followed by the infinitive or the gerund. Let's have a look at the example with the infinitive. I tried to open the door, but I couldn't. I believe this is the easiest or the most common use of the verb try. Here the explanation says you make an effort, you attempt to do something. Most probably you will not achieve what you want to do in this case, but most probably the attempt will fail. But it doesn't happen all the time. Now, then we have try plus ing. I couldn't open the door, so I tried using a different key. It means that you used a different key. You didn't make an attempt. You didn't try to use a different key. You used a different key. That's why you tried using. But what does this try using mean? It means an experiment which you do in order to see what happens. Okay, for instance, you are pushing a door and you cannot open. Maybe another person can tell you, why don't you try pulling it and see if it opens? That is experiment. Why don't you the computer or the cell phone is not working properly. Maybe a friend tells you, why don't you try resetting it to see if it works? And you reset the cell phone, and then when you turn it on, maybe it begins working properly. Okay, so try doing something implies an experiment. Then we have regret. Regret again will mean something different whether we use it with the gerund or with the infinitive. Look at the examples here. I regret to say that your interview was not successful. In this case, regret to say is very similar to I am sorry to say. Regret in this case is formal here. Another example would be when an airline announces the cancellation of a flight or the delay of a flight. Yes, for instance, I don't know, United Airlines regrets to inform passengers that flight blah 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 has been cancelled. That regret is something of the moment, okay, and it is formal. Now, here we have regret plus ing, which has a completely different meaning. I really regret being so rude to her. What does it mean? That I was rude to that person and now I regret doing that. What it means that I wish I had not done it, the regretting takes place now about something I did in the past. Okay? I wish I hadn't been so rude to her would be another way of expressing exactly the same idea. Another verb which implies difference in meaning, whether followed by the gerund, whether followed by the infinitive, is stopped. Stop. And here we have the examples. We stopped to have a cup of tea. That indicates purpose. Okay? It introduces the reason why we stopped. We stopped, and the idea was to have a cup of tea. We wanted to have a cup of tea. Okay, we stopped because we wanted to do so. Now, we stopped talking when she came in. That is, you interrupt what you were doing. Okay, what you are doing. That is very typical in a class. When students are talking, all of them in class, and the teacher says, please stop talking. Stop, interrupt what you are doing. It doesn't indicate purpose. It indicates that you, please, don't do what you are doing anymore. Then, go on. Go on, again, another verb which changes the meaning. Here we have, let's begin with the second example, which is the easiest one, the most common one, the one that you always remember. We went on talking all night, meaning that you continue doing the same activity all night. Yes, continue talking, continue doing something, meaning you continue with what you are doing. Now, the first explanation that we have here, the first example actually, the meaning changes. After a successful career as a football player, Johan went on to become a respected manager. What does it mean? That you continue, if you go on to do something, you continue with something different. Check that in this case, Johan was a football player and then went on to become a manager. Okay? First a player, then a manager, something different. In the second example, the one that we know very well, is they went on talking, the meaning they continued talking, doing the same action. Now, like, dislike, love and hate. The difference is subtle, yes, but there is a difference. I like going for a run before work. That is the usual use of a verb like, okay? Meaning, what does it mean? It means I enjoy the activity of going for a run before work. I may or may not do it regularly, but I really enjoy that activity. Now, if you say I like to go for a run before work, it doesn't mean that I enjoy it. It says, for example, here in the explanation, it describes a regular activity. I like it because I think it is a good idea. I may or may not enjoy the activity while I am actually doing. For instance, if you, some people, as soon as they receive their salary, they like to pay their bills. As soon as they receive their salary. What does it mean? It means that it doesn't mean that they enjoy paying the bills, but they do it as a regular activity because they think it is a good idea to pay the bills as soon as they get their salary. Continuing with this changes in meaning, we have prefer, the meaning of which will remain very similar, but there is a difference. I don't go out much. I prefer staying at home in the evenings, meaning that we express a general preference, okay? Something that I generally prefer doing. Now, if I say I would prefer to stay, check that we have I would prefer to stay in tonight, meaning it refers to a specific situation, okay? It refers to something specific. I'm not talking about something or some regular preference. I'm talking about tonight. Maybe usually or as a habit, I prefer staying at home in the evenings. However, tonight, since I haven't been out for a long time, I would prefer to go out. Changing that habit because it is not a general preference, it is something specific. Then we have need. Need. The difference is quite there is quite a difference here. I need to get up early tomorrow, meaning it is necessary for me to do it. That is quite simple. There is no problem with that use of need. Now look at the second use of need in this case. The car needs cleaning. The car needs cleaning. Check that the explanation here says it has a passive meaning. Someone needs to clean the car. Since it is a passive meaning, it is necessary that the car is cleaned. Okay? It doesn't matter who cleans it. Okay? But if I say an exam needs studying, it means that someone needs to study the exam, that someone has to study the exam. That's the idea. Okay? If you say, for example, it is very good, for example, if you're talking about your own bedroom, children. For instance, if you say, if your mother, your father tells you your room needs tidying up. Okay, in that case, it would be the perfect expression for you because it doesn't say that you need to tidy it up. It needs tidying up, so it doesn't matter who. You can say, okay, someone else can do it, even though you know who should do it. All right, but in this case, the car needs cleaning. It is passive meaning. Remember, please, we don't say who needs to do the action, but that action needs to be done. Well, remember is something to remember, of course. Again, the meaning changes, but it changes because of the time things happen. Why? Look at the example. I remembered to give her the message. What does it mean here? It means that first I remember and then I gave her the message. Okay? Look at what we have here. As in the example, I remember first, and then I do the action. Remember to study for the exam. Remember to study for the exam, children, meaning that you remember and then you do that action, you study for the exam. Well, and the other example with remember, the meaning changes because the order of the actions switches. I remember giving her the message, meaning that I remember something I did before. All right, look at the order of the sequence of actions here. I do the action first, and then I remember that I did that action. I will always remember seeing that movie, meaning that I saw that movie and I still remember. First I saw the movie and now I remember it. Okay? When you saw your team being champion, you can say you remember my team winning the championship. You remember something that happened before winning the championship. Okay? First your team won the championship and now you remember. Well, with forget, even though it has the opposite meaning of remember, the rules apply in a very similar way. Look at the examples. I forgot to go to that meeting. So I forgot first and then I didn't go. With a different meaning, but the sequence of actions is very similar. Okay? I forgot to study, the usual excuse. Okay? Meaning that I forgot and so then I didn't study. Now, if you say if you use forget plus ing, look at the example. I will never forget going to that meeting, meaning that I went to that meeting first, and now I still remember, or I don't forget it. So I forget something that I did before, or I don't forget something that I did before. Then we have mean. Okay, mean has two completely different meanings. The first one says, I didn't mean to hurt you, meaning it wasn't my intention. If you mean to do something, it is your intention to do something. Okay, you imply you want to do something. Now, if you say mean plus ing, here you have the example. Passing the first certificate exam means working hard the whole year. Grammatically speaking, it is true, and the meaning of the sentence is true, my children. Passing the first certificate exam means working hard the whole year. The explanation says it expresses or represents an idea, fact, or thought. Means working implies working. Okay, if you want to pass the first certificate exam, you are supposed to work hard the whole year. That is why mean is followed by ing in this example. Then you have sorry. I'm sorry to tell you that your flight has been cancelled. It expresses regret the way we saw it before. Now, here we have sorry for, which has a similar meaning. He was sorry for hurting her feelings. You apologized for something that you did. Obviously, there is some type of regret in the second example, but the main idea is that you apologize. Then you have afraid. Afraid. She was afraid to climb the tree, meaning that you are too frightened to do something. You hesitate. If you hesitate, you have doubts. When she goes swimming, she's always afraid of being stung by a jellyfish. Okay, jellyfish, that transparent living being which has kind of tentacles, and when they touch you, they burn you. You are worried that something bad will happen as a result of your actions. Okay, and then, well, mainly anyway, in the cases of sorry and afraid, the helpful part is that in the second case is sorry for and afraid of, as you can see, are followed by prepositions. So remember the prepositions, and obviously they will be followed by gerunds, which is a rule, preposition plus gerund, that we saw again last class. And then the last case, which is not completely the difference in meaning, but the difference in structure according to a word that can be or not. Verbs like advise, verbs like allow, encourage, forbid, and recommend. Let's focus on a verb like advise, which is a very well-known verb by all of you. Yes, they advised us to leave. That is the usual case. These verbs are usually followed by an object, the name of a person or a personal pronoun, plus to infinitive. Advise somebody to do something. That is the usual structure. Okay, remember that someone they advised Peter to study hard. They advised them, or I advised them to do all the homework. I usually advise my students not to fall behind with classes. Okay, and so on. Advise somebody to do something. That is something you already know, and here you have the explanation. Now, when does the structure change? Have a look at the second example. They advised leaving. There is no someone. It's not that they advise someone. No, they advise and there is no someone. When there is no someone after advice, as an, let's say it, object, direct object, indirect object, well, I will not complicate your lives. Well, when there is no someone after advice, okay, the verb is in the gerund. Occasionally, here is the explanation, occasionally these verbs have no object, in which case, in that case, they take a gerund. I don't know. Mr. Hernan encouraged his students to continue studying, to study hard, okay? And you can say Mr. Hernan encourages studying hard. Maybe taken as a general, you can say that the someone is obvious, so there is no need to include it, okay? But encourage someone to do something or encourage doing something. The same happens with advise, allow, forbid, and recommend. Well, now you can do all the activities that you have here in the class. They belong all to the course book. I have taken into account some comments you made about how long classes should be, and before my students go on a strike, I've decided to make classes a bit shorter. Yes, so please do them properly. Okay, kids, that will be all for today. I hope all these explanations are clear. Sorry for how long this video is, but there is no way of making it shorter. Bye bye, see you soon.